All right, guys, thanks for hopping over to the second channel. I want to talk a little bit more earnestly about this whole thing because I have a feeling that video is not going to go over very well with a lot of you guys, and I understand it. I understand if you don't like Ter Stegen. I don't like some other players in our club, and that's fine. You don't have to like them. I'm not upset at you for liking them, but I just wanted to show you the stats and the numbers and the fact that he's not that bad. He's not all of the issues at this club, and he's not the biggest issue at this club either, which, you know, we can get into another day. But he doesn't deserve all this wild hate. All of his comments are flooded with "get out of my club, please leave, go to Saudi Arabia, start learning Arabic," and it's funny, and I think that's part of it. I think it's fun to hate Ter Stegen, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stop you guys from doing that because I think some of it is funny. The account that's like day whatever of Mbappe not scoring a free kick, and then the retweet of that saying that this is going to be what's going to happen the day that Ter Stegen's the reason this account has to close. It's funny, and I can get behind that, but it's also getting to a point where it's kind of too serious and people believe it, and it's factually incorrect. Ter Stegen is not the biggest problem with this team. He never really has been. Doesn't mean he hasn't made mistakes. I've done my fair share of yelling at him or disliking him, or, you know, the same posture he does every day, every time he's trying to save a one-on-one and he fails to do it. I understand the dislike for him. I am not comfortable with him in net either. I don't love him, and we can ask for more from this club. Realistically, though, I understand why they don't sign a big name guy, because Arsenal just spent a bunch on Raya, and I looked at the numbers. He's not that great of a keeper either. He's actually worse than Ter Stegen in most of the stats, except for coming for crosses. He's got to do better at that. That's wild. His just confidence is probably through the floor. He's not that bad. And I thought it was like, I have no confidence with him on pens. And he actually, I think he's only saved 2 or 3 pens in an actual game in his entire career. However, he's also, his saves percentage isn't that bad. I think it's like 14%, which is terrible to me. It sounds terrible. But Neuer's, I think, was 13%. Emi Martinez in the league, his save percentage is only like 12%. So these guys aren't saving a ton more than him, if any more than him. I think Courtois is 14 as well, 14 or 18, something like that. And so he's not that bad. He's not great. I'm not confident with him in net, which is a problem. I think we should be able to feel that way. I mean, or I guess we could hope to feel that way. But realistically, he is not that bad, and that was the main point I wanted to get across on that video, just to show you guys that statistically speaking, he's not that bad. I wanted to look into why it happens and, you know, what that whole thing was. It's not my favorite video I've ever made. Looking back at the script and the things I talk about, it's a divisive issue, and people are going to disagree with it, and I don't know how I could have addressed it any differently, really, without like absurdly defending him, because I don't know if he necessarily deserves that either. Like, I enjoy it. I think it's funny, and I think a lot of it, it's rooted in honesty, like truth, how we feel watching these games, how we feel when he's one-on-one with guys. It's there. And so I want to make it clear to you guys that are hopping onto the second channel that I don't hate you guys if you don't like Ter Stegen. And that's never how I want this to feel. Some people on Twitter are really blowing it out of proportion. And I think that is unfair, because it's easy to hate Ter Stegen. It's easy to blame your goalkeeper. And realistically, I don't think that's the fairest thing. Am I the fairest person in the world? No, but I'm just going to say what I think. And what I think is that Ter Stegen doesn't deserve all of this. He probably deserves a lot of it. He's not the biggest problem with the squad. You know, Deco and Laporta are out here signing people that were constantly scratching our heads, or you know, letting people go for nothing, or doing one thing or another, like Julian Araujo going for 10 million euros to Brentford, I think it was. Or I don't think it was Brentford. It's not a lot. And he's probably worth more than that, or going to be worth more than that very soon. And so there are a lot of other issues with this side. And it's not just Ter Stegen. Like, we all know that. And we'll see how he does this season. He could be terrible. I could be putting my foot in my mouth and regret everything that I just said. And that's entirely possible. I promise you it could happen. And I'm not saying it won't happen. I don't know. But I do know that the numbers don't necessarily lie. And the numbers say he's a fine keeper. He's not a great keeper. He's not keeping all of the goals out. But Neuer was actually worse than him this year with his save percentage. And obviously Neuer's a billion years old, so it makes sense. But Neuer was really good last year, and Ter Stegen was also really good last year. But last year, I also didn't want to talk too much about last year in that video because I don't give him a ton of credit for how this team fared, how this team played, because I don't think he made great saves all the time. I genuinely believe from what I remember watching those games, I don't have notes. I'm not like Dan Hilton from the Barcelona podcast and have notes on every game. He is incredible at that. I just remember feeling like we got lucky a lot to not concede. Very often I felt that way. And so sometimes I would say a goalkeeper saved the day. I don't think I would say that happened as much as it looks like it happened when you look at the fact that he made, I think, 84% of saves that whole season. That's like the highest number for last year. I think that this past season was 85% or 84.9% from Gianluigi Donnarumma, and then the second was Mamardashvili at 84.3 or something like that. And Ter Stegen was at like 84.5 2 years ago. I think he got away with it, you know, if that makes sense. I don't think he is a great goalkeeper, at least a great goalkeeper at saving the ball from going into the net. I think he's good enough with his feet. He's not perfect. He misses some short passes sometimes and makes mistakes like everybody does, like he did in the... He made a mistake in the last game, I think, against AS Monaco in the Joan Gamper trophy match that didn't mean anything, but he made a mistake. I think he went to pass it to either Marc Gassaro or Marc Bernal, and he gave it away or something like that. We noticed how good he was when we were playing with Iñaki Peña last season. I thought Iñaki Peña was clueless a lot of times. He could not pick out fullbacks for the life of him, and the team really struggled because they couldn't really build up from the back at times with Iñaki Peña at the back because they couldn't pick out their outlets when being pressed hard. When the Kubarsi or Koundé or Araujo were taken out of the play, we had no options but to boot it up to Lewandowski, who could not win a header or win the ball for the life of him and just falls to the ground because he's 35 years old and moves like it too. And now he's dropping into midfield. I don't know what's going on. I don't think Ter Stegen is the issue. Back to Ter Stegen, he's not that bad, realistically speaking. And if the club has to reinforce somewhere, I'd rather it be a place more interesting too. I would rather the club concede 45 goals in the league and score 95 than concede 30 and score 40 like they did, something like that, when they won the league 2 years ago. That's over, really over dramatic version of what actually happened. But if I'm Joan Laporta, I think the exact same way. He wants goals. He wants exciting games. They're going to get into the Camp Nou apparently going into the season. And so they want to bring some excitement. And Dani Olmo brings more excitement than Mamardashvili does. Even if, like, tactically speaking, like if the purist is making the decisions, it's going to be a goalkeeper over an attacking midfielder. I understand the signing. I think it's a better signing financially, even if it's a lot more money. It sounds silly, but it's the excitement factor. It's the joy. It's the goals. It's the, competitive with Mbappe. I know probably reinforcing the back would be better, but, it's a whole thing. And I understand. I want to, whatever. I could ramble on forever. Point is, I don't hate you if you hate Ter Stegen. It's okay to dislike players. I don't think you're wrong for thinking that, but I do want to present you with the facts, like I did in that video, of the stats from last season that show he wasn't nearly as bad as we're beginning to be led to believe online. And if you guys aren't aware of what's going on Twitter, don't go on Twitter. It sucks. It's not X, but don't go on it. It's just nonsense all the time. That's a whole nother video in and of itself. But again, I do want to say I will be live on Tifo. So if you guys want to, check out the live stream while I'm actually watching all of these La Liga games, or most of them, check it out. Again, it's free. It doesn't cost you guys anything. And I get to bring up some viewers at halftime. There's also some more analytical stuff. I can bring up a tactics board and talk to you guys about what's going on in the match in a much more in-depth way than I can and personal way than I can on YouTube or Twitch. I'm trying it out. If it doesn't resonate with you guys, I can change it, but you guys seem to like it. So I'm going to stick with it for now. Again, link is in the description. Use my code ROLU. And thank you guys for hopping on the second channel. Also, I got a special video coming out, so make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, because you're going to... IRL footy video is coming. It's going to be exciting, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye. Peace.